I hate self-tape auditions. And if you are an actor who just wants to act for a living, I bet you hate them too. Well, today I'm going to help you mitigate some of that hate and give you some tactics and tips that you can use to make self-taping at home a lot easier. After the bump. With Augmented Actor, where we help you augment your acting career with tips, tactics, and tech. Today, we're going to tackle that beast of an issue, self-taping at home by yourself. How do you do it? What to avoid? What can you do to make life a lot easier? Before we start, let me ask you a favor. Click the subscribe button down below, and that will help me produce more content for you like this. There's a lot of benefits to self-taping at home. You don't have to travel anywhere. You can tape over and over and over again until you get the best take, and you get to decide which take you send. You get to keep a record of all of your auditions. But I hate self-tape auditions for so many more reasons. Setup is complicated and it takes time. I don't know how many auditions I've had to do where I spent all day just tearing my hair out, trying to get the right setup, the right lighting, memorizing my lines, putting it all together, and doing it all by myself. You have to play so many different roles that are not the actor role. You gotta be a director. You gotta set up your camera and get the right shot. You gotta get the right white balance, the right framing. You gotta make sure your eyes are in the right place. You gotta be a lighting director. You have to set up the lights and make yourself look good. You have to be a set designer. You have to put a screen behind you or find a location that is plain and ordinary and that doesn't take the focus away from you. You gotta be a script supervisor. You gotta print out your script, tape it, or put it on an iPad or something like that so that you can read the lines and be refreshed while you're working on the camera. That takes a lot of setup. You gotta be an editor. You have to load all the footage into your computer, take the best shots, edit it together, load it up to YouTube, and then send it off to your agent. That takes time. You gotta be a social guru. You have to recruit a friend to read opposite you, and that takes a lot of energy and extra asking from you. I mean, just give me the old days where you could just drive to an audition, go into the room, they've got all this crap set up already. You just walk in, you have your script, your side, you read your part, they give you a little direction. You don't get that with self-tapes. They don't tell you, try it again and do it this way, or they're not there to answer your questions for you. You're on your own when you self-tape at home. And I really just long for the days where you could just go in and just do your part as an actor and be an actor and then leave and you're done. It's so much easier in my mind. So how can we mitigate some of these circumstances and create an environment where you can get set up easily, reduce the amount of time you have to spend on those other roles, and focus on your acting and give a solid performance, which is really what it's all about. One thing to note when you are submitting a video to a casting director or an agent is that they don't submit all of the videos that they receive onto the next gatekeeper in the process. They will edit out any crappy videos, bad takes, bad lighting, poor memorization, or poor acting. Even though you take all the time to submit your video, if it looks like crap or sounds like crap, or you give a crap performance, it's not gonna go past the first gatekeeper. Your agent is not gonna pass it on, the casting director is not gonna pass it on, and this is the case even if you go into an audition and don't self-tape at home. So let's break down those roles, and I'll give you some tips and tactics and advice that you can use to help with your own self-tape audition. So let's start with the director, the camera person, the one that has the vision. Take a look at this screenshot. This is a friend of mine, and this is how she taped her self-tape audition. She literally taped an iPad to the wall with duct tape. That's her camera, and that's how she was able to get a good shot. These are the kinds of tricks that you have to sort of come up with if you don't have the proper equipment. What I highly recommend is getting a tripod, even a lighting stand and a little clip like this one. These will go a long way toward making sure that your camera is set up properly. Now, you don't need an expensive camera. If you have a smartphone, you've already got a really great camera on the front and the back. And that's all you really need. So if you have a good tripod and a camera clip, you can set up your shot easily. And most smartphones have a front-facing camera, which is usually a higher definition 4K kind of camera, and then a back-facing selfie camera, which is usually a lower quality camera. Now, for home tape auditions, it's perfectly all right to use the selfie camera, and it's actually a lot easier to set up your shot. But one thing a lot of people do incorrectly is that they stare at the image of themselves in the screen when they're recording their video. And when I do that, I'm looking at myself on the screen now, and notice how my eyes don't look like I'm looking at you. Now, normally for a self-tape audition, you're going to be looking off camera and maybe on the screen. So you want to look like you're looking away from the lens. But when you're shooting with your selfie camera and you need to look directly at your audience, here's a little trick. Go to the school supply store and get some reinforcers. Put one of them around the lens of your camera on your front-facing screen. That way you know exactly where to look when you need to face the camera. And you also know where to avoid when you're not looking at the camera. Now, if you want a higher quality video and you want to use your front-facing camera, well, you might have problems framing your shot and making sure that you're in frame and in focus while you're shooting. One way to solve that problem is to set up a mirror or shoot in front of a full-length mirror. That way you can kind of see the reflection of your shot in the mirror. The other way to do it is to mirror your phone to a laptop or computer monitor that you set up facing you. There are a couple options for this. If you have an iPhone and an Apple TV, you can AirPlay your iPhone screen to your Apple TV. However, if you don't have an iPhone or you don't have an Apple TV, there is a screen mirroring app called Reflector. Put a copy on your desktop or laptop, and then a copy on your phone, and then mirror your display. That way you can see whether you're in focus. You also get a much larger display of what image you're capturing. All right, let's talk about lighting now. You want to have a really well-lit environment. You want to have either really good natural lighting, a nice big open window that frames you from all different directions, or you want to go to Home Depot and get a few can lights and maybe a diffuse shower curtain that you can tape over the front. These make great cheap alternatives to an actual lighting system. Or you can invest $75 to $100 in a very inexpensive softbox professional lighting kit for video. Now, if you want to know the equipment that I use the Crafty softbox lighting kit, and I did a review about that, and you can see that up above or in the link down below. So when you do lighting, you want to look for something that brightly lights your face, makes you the center of attention, and you want to look at your eyes in the camera and make sure that there's like a little glint of reflection. Now, I'm only using one light here today because my other lights are back on my green screen. One or two lights in the front of you to give little pinpoint dewdrops of light in your eyes. That really makes them pop and makes them more expressive. So look for that. Whatever lighting you use, look for your eyes. All right, let's talk about sound design now, when you have to be a sound designer for your shoot. Now, when you are taping an audition, you're usually going to be very close to the camera. You're going to be indoors and you're going to be under controlled circumstances. So sound design isn't necessarily that important. But if you're outside or you've got competing ambient noise and you don't have a professional microphone like this one, then what you want to do is take your headphones. Now, if you're using an iPhone, you'll have earbuds like this. And this little thing right here, this is really great because not only is this a microphone, but it is also a remote control. So if you attach the other end to your camera, you can start and stop your video recording with this little button here. And if you place this microphone on a stand near your mouth, it could even be pinned to your shirt down below, then you're going to have a microphone that is picking up your sound very close to where it's coming out of, that mouth hole of yours. All right, now there's the role of social guru, where you have to reach out to your friends and ask for somebody to read with you. This isn't necessary if you're doing a monologue or if there's maybe just a few lines of dialogue and you can just sort of treat the dialogue as if it was a monologue. And sometimes in a pinch, you just don't have time to find a person. Now, different agents and casting directors will have more to say about this. Generally, they really want you to have a human being. They don't want you to record your lines and read them opposite. They can always tell when you're doing that. But sometimes you don't have a choice. When in doubt, read the lines as if they are a monologue. Imagine the other person there and just read the dialogue. But when you can get a reader, it's always a great idea. Invite your friend or your roommate or your enemy to read with you. Have the reader off the camera, very close to the lens, so that when you're looking at the reader's face, it looks about like this. You know, you're not looking at the lens, but you're looking at the reader. You have somebody to engage with. You want the reader to also read in a very soft voice. Even if they have to yell in the lines, you want them to be off in the distance, and you want you to be the primary focus visually and auditorily. You want a reader that can read a little bit of sense into the lines. You don't want to be competing with them. You don't want them to be the best actor in this room, but you want them to read sense into the lines and not sound stilted or phony, because that will just distract from the reading at all, and the auditors will kind of go like, what's going on? All right, so sometimes you just can't get somebody to come over, but you might be able to get a friend to Skype read with you. And then all you got to do is set up a second screen, an iPad or a laptop, call them up on Skype. It's just as great. They're not on camera. Nobody will even know the difference. All you have to do is be able to hear what they're saying, and you can pump that into your video audition. All right, the role of script supervisor. This is where you print out your script, either memorize it, or you attach it to your tripod, or you put it off to the camera right over here. And the great thing about doing home self-tape auditions is that you're not gonna have to look in the lens like I have to do for these YouTube videos. You're gonna be looking kind of off camera. And that's always the best practice when shooting videos. Is you're reading with somebody who's not the camera, not the viewer, they're another actor. And so as a script supervisor, you can actually literally put your script on an iPad or an iPhone or even just a printed piece of paper right off the camera, and you can literally just read your script without having to memorize it. Now, it's great to always memorize your script whenever you can, but for home auditions, you are busting these videos out with a quick turnaround, and nobody expects you to be off book. But better than carrying your script down here and constantly glancing and dividing your attention, you are able to focus on the script and actually read it over here. I can hold my hand right here and scroll right here off camera without even letting you know that I'm reading from a script. Now let's talk about the editor role. So this is where you get to have some control over yourself and what you present to the agent or casting director that you're sending this material to. But it requires that you are able to have some way to edit your video. Now, a lot of apps can edit your video in your phone. If you have an iPhone, you can use iMovie. If you have access to the Adobe Creative Cloud, you can use Premiere Clip. And if you're on an Android phone, well, I don't really know because I don't use an Android phone. But if I think of something, I'll put it in the links down below. So look down there. Now, the phone editing apps are really kind of touchy-goey. They don't have the full feature set. So I really recommend using iMovie on an Apple computer. Final Cut Pro, if you can afford it, it's about $300, but it's a full-featured program. If you're on a PC, Windows Movie Maker comes native. And if you want to upgrade to Adobe Premiere Pro, you can get it for $19.99 a month through adobe.com. When you are editing acting auditions, you're not going to be doing these advanced editing techniques or anything like that. You're just going to be doing jump cuts. You're going to be cutting out the crap and just showing them the takes that really work for you. Review the takes. Try to put yourself in the mindset of the director and what they might be looking for, and see which performances really connect with the audience, really show your eyes off, show your expressions and whatnot, but still take your best take and submit that to your agent or casting director. Now you're going to probably want to follow their instructions. Usually they'll have you load these videos up to YouTube or Vimeo, and you always want to make them unlisted or private videos with password protection. Make sure you follow their instructions. You never want to post these videos publicly because a lot of filmmakers and commercial producers do not want their scripts and their materials out there for public view. So always unlist these or make them private. Let's talk about the set designer role. So when you're shooting a music video or a movie or a YouTube channel, you might have a setup kind of like this, where you have a set in the background and there's some detail. However, when you're shooting a actor video, you don't want to be framed off to the side like this. You want to be center. You want to have like a medium shot, so mid-chest, about this level to just an inch or so above your head. You want to focus on you. And for your backdrop, your set, it's much better to have a plain white, gray, blue, green background, something that is not distracting from the focus of the audition, which is you. You don't want to show them anything extraneous. You don't want pictures on your wall that they might be looking at and saying, well, what is that picture? They want to be looking at your face. So use a plain background like this, or like this, or like this. So now I think you are aligned to give some really great self-tape auditions. Once you invest a little bit of money and you got your lights and a decent microphone, you use your smartphone with a tripod and a clip, spend that money on those items and a good editing software app, then you will be set and your setup will be so much faster and so much easier, and the quality of your auditions will be much better. Please comment down below and let me know what you thought of this video. I'd also love to know what ideas you have for future videos. What kind of things do you want me to produce for you? Because I really want to hear from you. And if you like this content, please subscribe to my channel, like, share. All those things really help me produce more content like this. And I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.